Hey, just want to jump on here real quick. Got some really good information for you. Give me one moment here and I'll get it over. Let's see. There we go. Take a look. All right, so reading right here. Where a government entity is not patently a governmental unit, these questions are complicated by the need to determine if the entity is entitled to claim the status for a particular purpose. Where the entity is not a governmental unit, the basic taxation issue is answered differently. The entity is subject to tax unless it can claim exemption under the code. A government pay attention, a government entity may also voluntarily seek an exemption determination, so it can receive the tax and non-tax benefits available to exempt organizations. Tax exemption, however, pay attention, may carry obligations as well as benefits which the government entity assumes by voluntarily seeking exempt status. So to me, what that's saying is that if you are seeking exempt status, more than likely you're going to owe, as it said, an obligation to the government. Okay, so I was alluding to this because I've been hearing people talk about the benefit perks or what have you of being 501c3 or being considered tax exempt. But as you can see right here, once again, I'll show you. It says it may carry obligations, all right? To be considered tax exempt is a benefit from the government, okay? So that's something to consider. Now, going forward, one of my favorite cases, let me see if I can pull it up here for you. Here we go. This is the Hale versus Hinkle, a very favorite case of mine. It says, as repeatedly held, a corporation is a citizen of a state for purposes of jurisdiction of federal courts. And as a citizen, it may locate mining claims under the laws of the United States, as McKinley versus Wheeler, and is entitled, see, because it's a corporation, right, and it's under to establish jurisdiction by the federal courts, okay? That's the whole purpose of a corporation being recognized as a citizen. Listen, all right, where was I? And is entitled to the benefit of the Indian Depredation Acts. Okay, moving forward. Indeed, it, meaning the corporation, is essentially but an association of individuals to which is given certain rights and privileges, and in which is vested the, what type of title? Legal title. Okay, that should mean a whole bunch to you, especially if you've been through our trust courses. You know there's two titles, right? There's beneficial equitable title, and then there's the legal title. Legal title establishes control. Okay, the beneficial equitable title establishes ownership. Okay, and so the corporation that is a citizen of a state, okay, it is essentially just an association. It's a membership, a group of individuals. So each individual, okay, is represented thereby by this corporate association, okay, to which, and that corporate association, that association of those individuals are given rights and privileges, okay, and they're vested with a type of control, a legal title. Listen, the beneficial ownership is in the individuals. Who's the benefactors of this association? It's the individuals themselves. They make up remember there's two titles, the legal title which establishes control and the beneficial title which establishes ownership. This is a trust. It's a trust. That's how you create a trust. The bifurcation of these two titles establishes a trust. Okay? So the beneficiaries of this association, once again, are the individuals. The corporation being simply, this is what a corporation is, an instrumentality by which the powers granted to these associated individuals may be exercised. Okay? So, in other words, without the corporation, the individuals would not have the power, okay, the powers that are granted, these rights and privileges, okay? It's a legal title and all this kind of stuff. They wouldn't have it without the corporation. That's their instrumentality. It's their ship, if you will, okay? And this is Chief Justice Marshall here. Now, let's look at citizenship. Citizenship. What is citizenship right here? I wish I could center this better for you. Citizenship. Where was I at? Nope, this isn't where I was at. Let me see here. Citizenship. Citizenship is the status of a person. Okay? If you've been following along in the legal dictionaries and what have you, you know that what a person is. Okay? It's an entity. It's either a commercial entity or a legal entity, not a man or a woman. Okay, so citizenship is the status of a person recognized under the law of a country of belonging to thereof. I think that's a typo. In international law, it is a membership. See, there it is. Remember back here? Let's see. Well, I won't go there for right now. Let's just keep going. It's a membership. Remember I said an association. Here, I'll show you. Right, where did it say? The beneficial, okay. Here it is. There's your membership. Membership, an association of individuals. Okay? Right? And remember here, we're reading the definition of citizenship here, but remember, a corporation is a citizen of a state. You see that? Okay? Recognized under the law of a country okay. In international law, it is a membership to a sovereign state. Each state is free to determine the conditions under which it will recognize persons as its citizen, and the conditions under which that status will be withdrawn. Recognition by a state as a citizen generally carries with it recognition. Here you go. Here's the rights. Here's those rights. Remember back here, Hale versus Hinkle? What did it say about the right here? Indeed, it is essentially, right here, but an association, there's your membership, of individuals to which is given certain rights and privileges. So what are the rights and privileges that they're alluding to under citizenship? Here it is. The state as a citizen, okay, so recognition by a state as a citizen generally carries with it recognition of civil, political, and social rights which are not afforded to non-citizens. So you have to become a member to the state or the sovereign, okay, taking on citizenship. And once you do that, then you will receive these benefits here: civil, political, and social rights. Okay, because you're part of the club, and anyone that's not part of the club does not get those rights. In general, the basic rights normally regarded as arising from citizenship are the right to a passport, see, the right to leave and return to the countries of citizenship, the right to live in that country and to work there. Some countries permit their citizens to have multiple citizenships, while others insist on exclusive allegiance. A person who does not have a citizenship of any state is said to be stateless, while one who lives on state borders whose territorial status is uncertain is a borderlander. Okay, so let's go back to where we started. It says where a governmental entity is not patently a governmental unit. So I would contend that the governmental entity, as in, remember, a person is a legal or commercial entity. And this point, whenever you think of legal, think of state created, okay? Because that's what it is. So a governmental entity, remember there's a county government, there's state government, and there's federal government, right? It's still, there's different entities. So this is a government entity, so it's a state. And so therefore it's a legal entity as opposed to a commercial entity. So where a government entity is not patently a governmental unit. So it may not be a unit, a governmental unit as in, let's see, like the CIA. So your citizenship, being a citizen, you might not be necessarily a governmental unit, okay? But you can still be a governmental entity because you're a member in the government, because you've taken on citizenship and allegiance to that government. Make sense? All right, so check this out. These questions are complicated by the need to determine if the entity is entitled to claim that status for a particular purpose. Okay? What status? They're distinguishing between a governmental entity, okay, or a governmental unit. Okay? So sometimes it may be necessary to take on, you know, one or the other, is what it's saying. Okay, it may be necessary to claim the status for a particular purpose. Look, where the entity is not a governmental unit, the basic taxation issue is answered differently, right? The taxation question is answered differently if you're not a governmental unit as opposed to a governmental entity or being recognized as a governmental entity because you're part of the association, all right? The entity here, this is, and then going on from that, the entity is subject to tax, right? The government entity is subject to tax unless it can claim exemption under the code. So there are places in the code where you can claim tax exempt status. Isn't that correct? 501c3s or other IRS code entities, right? Tax exempt status. So, but look, a government entity may also voluntarily seek an exemption determination so it can receive the tax and non-tax benefits. So you have, as a citizen of the United States, you have a right to perhaps elect to be exempt right here. And you submit your forms, your 501c3 and what have you, to hopefully in hopes of being determined to be exempt, right? So why do you do it? So that you can receive the tax and non-tax benefits, correct? Right? So Hill versus Hinkle says that basically, not verbatim, but it says that when you take a benefit from the government, then you owe an obligation and a duty. I think I just showed something like that, right? So let's move on. So you have that right as a citizen, right? Owing allegiance to try to reach a determination of exemption, okay? Non-tax benefits available to exempt organizations. Tax exemption, here it is. This is your warning here, okay? This is the consideration in the contract. Tax exemption, however, may carry obligations as well as benefits, which the government entity assumes. So you assume these obligations as well as the benefits by voluntarily seeking exempt status. And so I just wanted to quickly put that up there just to caution everyone who may be leaning towards, like, you know, this is a way to find a loophole in the system, whatever, you know, I'll hide behind this tax exempt entity or what have you. But lo and behold, they've already cut you off at the pass, because when you take those benefits, any benefit you take from Caesar, you're going to owe an obligation and a duty, all right? And so be careful. This is a caution to you, especially if you're American national, because nothing, as they say, is free, right? And so now you've been made free. What are you going to do with it? All right, we'll see you next time.